So if you're publishing books on Amazon KDP and you're looking for awesome niches that can help to grow your income very quickly, I've got an awesome, super high demand, very hot niche for you that you can jump in right now and do really, really well with. However, there is one caveat. This niche is seasonal, and I would actually say this niche is like extra seasonal. It's more seasonal than other holiday niches. And so what a seasonal niche basically means, if you're new to perhaps this business and don't really know what that means, is basically the demand for this niche is finite every year. So it's there's a time window when this niche is in demand, when the demand is crazy, like it is now, but this period of time has an expiry date every single year. So it is reoccurring, it does come back every year, but it is, again, finite. It's not evergreen. It's not something that will sell throughout the year. So what is this niche? So this niche is Advent calendars. So Advent calendars, in case you're unaware, it's a special type of holiday calendar wherein you're counting down the days until Christmas. And as we're just about to see here, as we start doing our research, there's a wide variety of different types of Advent calendars. They vary quite a lot with the actual type of content or activities that they contain, but the basic premise is that there are days. There's a countdown of usually 24 days until Christmas, and on every day there is some sort of either quote, text, sometimes even story, activity, something every single day that you either interact with or just read as you're counting down the days until Christmas. I actually believe it's more popular in Europe than it is in the US. So, all right, let's actually have a look at this niche on Amazon. So what I've done is I've typed in the words Advent calendar on Amazon.com, as well as each of the European marketplaces. And in the European marketplaces, which is France, Germany, Italy, Spain, what I've done is I've actually translated the word Advent calendar to each of the respective local languages. So in Spain to Spanish, in the French marketplace to French, German to German, obviously, and so on and so forth. Just so I can have the most accurate results for each of those searches. So what you want is the local language version of the book, because that is the one that is going to be, selling the best, and so on and so forth. So in the .com marketplace, so I'm seeing a couple of self-published Advent calendars that are actually doing really well. One of them is a more adult niche, let's say sub-niche. If you want to do that, that's totally up to you, I think. No judgment from my side. Here we see another one, dad jokes, selling at 2,365 bestsellers rank. So we have a couple of more as we scroll down. However, this is not where most of the sales are happening for this niche. This niche is actually in much higher demand in the European marketplaces. So here on Amazon France, we see that one of the first results for the search calendrier de l'Avent, that's my French for you. So one of the first results is doing incredibly well. And here I have the overlay from the Bookbeam Chrome extension, which is showing me the BSR, the estimated sales per day. It's showing me also that it is self-published. I can see that it is, this book has been self-published. And I also see the estimated royalty. It's making around 1,400 euros per day. So if we just calculate that real quick, how much would that be? Let's say it's going to sell for another, 20 days, give or take. I'm sure there's going to be days when it sells even more than it is now. And at the end, there's probably going to be a drop-off. Let's say an average of 20 more days it's gonna sell from the time of recording, which is roughly a little bit prior to November, the middle of November. So it's 28,000 euros that this would make. So that is pretty wild, and it's number 11 in the whole of the Amazon store. And Amazon France is a really, really big Amazon store. It's not as big as Amazon.com, but it's still really, really big and really, really substantial. And so here, if we scroll down, we see another self-published Advent calendar, again with a really high BSR, bestsellers rank, and making around 500 euros per day. That's pretty sweet, I would say. Then let's go over to Amazon Germany. We see that here, again, we have some really high selling books. Some of these are gag gifts as it seems, but again, really high BSRs, super high royalty numbers. We see also interesting variations on the kind of sub-niche, so they've niched down. It's not just a general advent calendar. Here we're seeing a Sudoku advent calendar for grandmas. So that's like a very specific kind of niche down, and it's still doing incredibly well. So you could, you could say this you could do just a general Sudoku advent calendar. You could do Sudoku for grandpa. You could do Sudoku for, seniors. So you can always come up with so many different angles for a book and still do really, really well. And this is a great example of that. And here, actually, if we scroll down even further, we see that there is a self-published book with a BSR of 5. So again, in the whole of the store, it's number 5. And we see that it is making hundreds of sales and upwards of 6,800 euros per day in royalty. That's pretty insane. So I think you kind of are starting to get the gist of this niche, why it's so crazy. The demand is just insane. The demand is totally like out of this world, but this demand does not last forever. So if this is something that is interesting to you, if this is something that you would like to produce for, you really got to act ASAP. And after you do it, perhaps, you don't get to really make the most out of it just because of the time urgency kind of factor. You can still do very well next year with these niches. But something interesting that I'm seeing as I keep browsing, here's the Spanish marketplace, also with books doing really well. So something that I'm seeing is that these publishers have not translated their book and localized their book to the other marketplaces. So for example, I have not seen any books that are on both, for example, Germany and France, or Germany and one of the other marketplaces. So they're all just one version of the book on one marketplace. And these books actually do not have that much content in them, which just means that to get them translated is not that difficult and not that expensive. The cost of translations really just depends on the amount of words. And since these books would not have that much words, probably a couple of thousand, if even that in some cases, maybe in some cases, I'm sure they could be, for dad jokes, they could be just like 1,000. But then, for dad jokes, there would be another issue. You would have to possibly contextualize the jokes. So, everything has its upsides and downsides, but I think you get the point of how high demand this niche is. So just to kind of wrap up our research, let's also have a look at this niche on the BookBean keyword research tool. Let's have a look at what is the demand telling us. So yeah, we see that in the US marketplace. It's not necessarily that crazy, but let's have a look at one of the European ones with the European kind of localized keywords, translated keywords. So here for France, I entered the French version of this keyword, and let's have a look at what search volume it shows us, how much competition, etc., etc. So yeah, we see that in France the demand is much the search volume is a lot higher than it is in the US. So again, really useful information. You might even want to focus your efforts primarily on one of the European marketplaces rather than for one of the English-speaking ones. Here I'm also going to do a search in the German marketplace, and here for Germany we see that the demand for this keyword is even bigger than it was in France. So again, this really helps to inform us about what the demand is like in the various marketplaces. And by the way, this ratio between a search volume, which is just demand, how many people are inputting this keyword into Amazon on a monthly basis. So right now in Germany, for this keyword and related keywords, it's upwards of 100,000 for most of them. So this is helping us to figure out what the demand is. So how many people are typing in this keyword and wanting to look at books, browse books, and buy them. And we see that the competition is actually relatively low to the amount of searches there are. We also see that page one average reviews is less than 100, which again is really, really low for the amount of demand that there is. So now that we've clearly established that this is a super high demand niche, how would you actually go about producing your book? So there are several different routes to go. There's the do-it-yourself option. So first you would decide what is the kind of sub-niche that I would definitely recommend that you do. You figure out what is the kind of unique angle that you would be going for. Is it more humorous, kind of dad jokes type of vibe? Or are you going more for like Sudoku, kind of a puzzle book, activity book? The French market had an interesting version where it's, I believe it's riddles and activities. So it's basically a combination of an activity book and an advent calendar. So it's the baby of these two things. So you have the do-it-yourself version with a software like Canva. You would just go to the KDP's help page. After you've chosen your what dimensions your book is going to have, let's say it's going to be 8.5 times 8.5 inches, you're going to have the exact dimensions that you can input into your interior file settings inside of Canva, and then you're just going to start formatting your book file. So the first page is going to be the title, you're going to have a copyright page, and then the calendar pages are going to start after that. And for the graphic assets, you can definitely use a site like Creative Fabrica, and there are many others as well. First and foremost, I highly recommend that you make sure that you have the rights to use the graphic assets. And also another upside of this is that because these assets from Creative Fabrica are for purchase, it means that less people are going to be using them. And not only that, if you do use graphics from this site, make sure that you use them in a highly transformative way, which just basically means that instead of just taking the assets and just plopping them on your page, that you format them in a unique way, you use unique combinations, you just basically make it as unique as possible. So you want to avoid any accusations from whichever side, whether that's KDP or I don't know, someone else, saying that you are publishing duplicate content, because Amazon really doesn't like that. So that's just something you have to keep in mind. And so also on this platform, on this site, you can get a lot of cool and unique fonts, but you can also get free fonts on various sites. Like Google actually has a lot of free fonts. So that is one option, that you go the do-it-yourself route via Canva. Or if you go to a site like Fiverr, you can actually find somebody who will produce the interior for you, probably after you've given them all of the texts and all of the instructions. Here's how the interior file is supposed to look. December 1, December 2, December 3, and on this page we have this stuff, etc., etc. If you make a good choice on your freelancer, the outcome can actually be really, really good. And then the last choice that I also can actually vouch for is Upwork. Again, if you have some money to invest and are willing to invest, the outcomes can be really, really good. And actually, you don't have to break the budget for that. You can actually find freelancers on Upwork for a really good budget. But again, since this is so time sensitive, there will be another kind of issue with timing. You would have to make sure that the person can produce really quickly. And that's definitely not impossible. There are people who are willing to, give me this project, I'll complete it ASAP, so they can, get the payment as soon as possible, etc., etc. So guys, that is the niche. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. And if you would also like access to the Chrome extension and the keyword research tool and many other super awesome tools like the niche finder, the trademark checker, and listing optimizer, we have like a good suite of tools by this point that can really, really help you on your publishing journey. If you'd like to access them, just sign up to Bookbeam using the link down below. So yeah guys, that is all, and I will see you around.